Keeping a practice running on schedule can be quite a feat, and we're going to discuss how to do that today. Hey there, thanks for joining me today. I wanted to talk about keeping your practice running on schedule. It's not an easy thing to do, and I would say that most practices that we have worked with, which is over 1,800 now that have done a year program with us or more, and I would say most of them have had a problem at one time or another of running behind schedule. It's not hard to do. Sometimes it's quite chronic, however, and the practitioner blames the staff for the scheduling and doing it that way. The staff blame the practitioner for being slow and talking too much. And the patients, they don't care who's at fault. They just want it to be going away. They're annoyed and disgruntled and having to wait even though they arrived early or on time. Therefore, let's look at some of the solutions that can be used to handle these situations. Obviously, the most common one is having an emergency patient that throws off your schedule for the day. Now, it is common to have an emergency patient come in, maybe once a week or so, and maybe more often depending on the type of practice that you have. So what do you do about this? Do you say, no, I'm not taking emergencies? No, that wouldn't be correct. Because you're caring. You guys have big hearts, and this is why it becomes a problem, because you do want to fit them in. So what a lot of practices do is they leave a 15-minute or a half-hour appointment available in the mornings, and the same thing in the afternoon when you're scheduling ahead of time. You just block them. And then on the day of, if you have an emergency, there's your spots. Others do, they donate their lunchtime or staying after hours. That's another solution for it. And I think the most important point is to keep in mind that the people who are scheduled already and are showing up on time deserve to be seen on time. And so when you're working out how to see the emergency appointment, you want to make sure it does not upset the other people who got there on time, who had an appointment and have to get back to work or pick up their kids from school or whatever. Okay, so keep that in mind as your sort of background concept of what you want to do when you're scheduling an emergency patient. Okay, here's another one. Lack of systems and structure. This quite often presents problems because staff can sometimes be of the mind to just fit a patient in wherever they can. The patient wants to come in at 2:15 and you have an appointment that's available starting at 2 o'clock, but the patient wants to come at 2:15, so they stick them there and there's a 15-minute loss of production time. And there are solutions for this, including staff training and having policy on this. But there's another thing that can be done too, and that's having ideal days that you book where certain kinds of procedures are done at a certain time, like new patient exams are done at this time till this time, and nothing else gets put in there. And then you do the other regular appointments at a different time. Some doctors in different professions have they're morning people and they want to do the heavy work that's going to require quite a bit of concentration in the morning time. So block out a time where they're not interrupted with any other matters than doing that particular set of procedures. And there are some kinds of patients that arrive late no matter what you say or do, and smart management is actually scheduling them so that they are there on time because they've been told it's 15 minutes earlier. Don't tell them you did this, but just set it up that way because they always show up 10 to 15 minutes late. So just plan for that, and that way you don't end up with being pushed behind, because I know some practitioners are going to just tell the patient you didn't show up on time, so you'll have to rebook another appointment for another day. And that's fair too, especially if it's going to throw out your schedule for the day, because you have to think about all of your patients, not just this one. And another one that I wanted to cover was the patients who often don't show up, even though they're confirmed, double confirmed, and so on. And then they don't show up for their appointment. And so on those cases, a lot of practitioners just double book that time. It does mean running behind if they both show up. You have to deal with that. So good policies on all these different items in your practice is definitely something that's very important, so the staff know all the game plan and the rules, and you have gotten it set out the way you would like it to be. Another point on that, by the way, is that most people are respectful of your time if you run on time. If you always run on time, they tend to run on time as well. It's kind of a two-way street, but if they see that you're always late, then they don't respect your time either, because you're not respecting theirs. So it kind of is something that you have to get a good respect running between both directions. All right, now, some people show up and they don't have a scheduled appointment. Different kinds of professions, denturists will have that problem. Sometimes veterinarians do, especially with an emergency and so on. I wouldn't say that a lot of dentists would have that happen to them. Chiropractors sometimes do, where people just show up, hi, can you treat me? And the persons who are scheduled, they deserve your first priority. So if you have an opening right then, and it's okay and it's not going to disrupt anything else, then okay, let them know that they were extremely smart to have chosen that exact moment to come in, because usually you can't accommodate them if they do that, just so they know, so they don't do it next time. And secondly, if you can't accommodate them right then, ask them, would you like to wait and see if any of our patients don't show up for their appointments or are extremely late, and see if we can get you in then. Otherwise, I can set up an appointment time for you to come back at a time that works for you, and that might be your best solution today, Mrs. Jones. Do your best, but don't disrupt your day for this kind of walk-in, all right? Because unless that's the nature of your business. We actually had one chiropractor who had a walk-in practice. Like, you had a headache when you woke up in the morning, you just went over to his practice. Those days are pretty much gone now, because they are not, it's not an ideal practice to have it be a walk-in practice and people just come whenever. His patients were very patient, waiting for him and sitting around and waiting. But when we changed it and put like afternoons were walk-ins, mornings were preset appointments, it was amazing how many people decided, okay, I'll just book an appointment, and it straightened the practice out. So he was always afraid that if he changed it, because it had been like that for years since his dad had the practice before him, and it had just always been a big old habit that people could just call in and show up. So don't think that you can't change things, because patients, if they love you and they want your service, will work it out. Okay. So in summary, let's just say, put all of this in writing. When it's in writing and the staff know what the game plan is, and you know what the game plan is because you wrote it, maybe you all worked it out together, but you wrote it down, and the team is less irritated and frustrated with you if they know what the game plan is, and you're going to definitely be less irritated if everything's running smoothly and your patients are happy. And keep in mind that everything that I discussed today is all about the patients having ideal care. So there you go. That's all I have to say on this topic. But if you like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we do have a channel and we have playlists on different topics, and you can share this with your friends. And I love it when you give me a thumbs up. Okay? Thanks a lot. Stay tuned. Talk to you soon. Bye.
To get your practice analyzed, contact the Art of Management at 416-466-6217.